I was on a date with a guy, and we took a drive down in this small district with all of these abandoned buildings. I'm not at all sure what the history behind it is. At the end of the road, which was maybe 5 to 10 miles long, there's a house. It's a big house, fenced off and completely abandoned. It was eerie, but still fun sight to see, like everything else in that area. According to the guy I was out with, the house was owned by a family who were murdered by one of the servants, all in the same night. I don't really believe that, but I also didn't search it much. According to him, you can still hear the screams of the family some nights. He said sometimes you can smell smoke and hear an eerie woman's laughter from around the house. Not entirely sure about all of that. He wanted to go in, but it's still considered private property, so I told him that I wasn't comfortable with it. After goofing off for a few minutes outside the fence, he took me home. Well, since then, I've been having the exact same dream every night. In the dream, it's like I'm walking, but I can't really see my body. I find myself standing in front of the house, where I walk to the door and twist the knob 3 times. Then I hit the door frame with the palm of my hand. After that, I go to the side window, where I hear a voice saying, "Go help Katie." That's when I wake up. I now have usually a hard time getting to sleep. I've been having to put the TV on after waking up. Can someone please give me a little bit of insight? I'm a little scared. I've never had a bad dream like this. Can it just be logical or some sort of sleep paralysis? Please be nice. I don't know anything about this stuff. Last night I was on my phone texting my girlfriend, and out of the corner of my eye I saw a random bright flash of light. My door to my room is to my left, and I always leave it open. And when I look down from my bed, I always see my door first. It was pitch dark. Ever since I have been living here, the lights from cars always come through the curtains, but you can barely see them since I'm on the 2nd floor. The flash of light looked exactly like this. It was a bit more white, though. Appeared for a quarter of a second. It was bright, and the light almost took up the entire hallway, but it appeared and disappeared so quickly that my eyes didn't have time to start squinting. I have had one other paranormal thing happen to me before here in this house, and it was more like an attack. So I live in an old house, probably 80-year-old house, pretty old regardless. Every night around 2 a.m., like clockwork, I smell cigarette smoke in my toilet. I have 2 other roommates, none who smoke. I've lived here for a year and a half now. No problems other than when I go pee in the middle of the night, and then there's that smoke smell. Should I just ignore it since it hasn't posed any problems for me? I really don't want to confront it since it doesn't affect me and stays within the bathroom. Okay, so I think it was in early January 2021. Me and my friend were like hanging out since we were neighbors, and we found out that the 3rd apartment was open. We thought maybe the caretaker left it open, since no one lives there anymore. We decided to come inside out of curiosity. She and I made the apartment our hangout place, since the caretaker has not come back. One night, me and my friend decided to come inside to talk. We were scaring each other with some stories that we know, and then I dared her to go up the stairs. She was kinda against it, but she still went. As she was climbing, I focused my eyes on her, since I was kind of afraid that something might happen. She then stopped and said she didn't want to continue, and of course I didn't want to force her. So I said sure, and after a second or two, I saw someone right in front of her, a girl who looked just like my friend staring at me, as if she was mad at me. She was wearing a nightdress with sleeves to her wrist, and the dress covering her knee. At the very end of it was some blood, and then the girl disappeared. I talked to my friend about this, and she believed me, since paranormal stuff happens to people. It has almost been a year and I still couldn't forget about the girl. So we decided to ask help from others in Reddit. So if you have any theories about this, please comment right away since we can't get it off our minds. Thank you so much. Please do believe that everything I said was not a lie. It really happened. When I was younger, I was staying on a farm with my family. There was the farm owner's house, our house, and another man who bred horses staying out the back of the property. One night there was a piercingly loud scream very late at night. It was obviously a bird, but it sounded so much like a young woman screaming. You could easily mistake it for a horror movie scream. I'd never heard a bird like that before or after, even though I'd lived in the area for years. A Google search said, "It is nicknamed the Screaming Woman Bird." I thought the bird might have been hurt or stuck, so I wanted to go out and see if I could help. My mother insisted I do not go, because of the horses and it being so late. The bird only screamed a few more times, then went quiet, and I forgot about it. 2 days later, there were police cars outside our house. They said that 2 days earlier, the horse breeder had been kicked in the chest by one of his horses and was found dead by the owner of the property. That horse was quite aggressive. It would run up and down along the fence all day, turning the grass to dirt while watching the mares. The next day, it was taken away to put him down. It was as though the bird came from somewhere else to tell us something was wrong. How would it even know this had occurred from a distant place? The police said that he would have died instantly, but who knows? Maybe if I had gone out that night, I could have saved him. The bird is supposedly an aboriginal and is considered a devil bird that foretold someone's death. Hey everyone, new guy here. I was wondering if anyone happened to know what it means to have a strong cigarette smell in particular rooms of my house. Specifically only mine so far, but my folks have smelled the same thing despite quitting years ago. I'll smell it at night after everyone's gone to bed, but it's not unheard of to smell it during the day as well. At the time of typing this at 11:30 p.m., I smell it pretty heavenly. It's weird though, because when I take a deep breath expecting to smell the odor even heavier, I get nothing. I also feel like I only smell it when I start feeling really sad in the night. Not sure if the two things are connected or not either. Any advice would be cool. Maybe it's nothing, but I just find it funny that the fixtures have come loose lately across the house, as well as plates falling over for no reason. Thanks in advance. When I was young, 7 or 9-ish, we lived in a large house built in early 1900s or late 1890s for around 2 years. It was rented from an estate in generally acceptable condition on the inside. I will always remember the house was split in two distinct parts, not by walls or anything physical, but by the way it felt. The house had a staircase that arose in the middle of the property. We, family, lived on the left side. The right side and its rooms were empty, apart from the occasional nanny or cook. The essentially uninhabited part, apart from the nanny, I will never forget, as it truly felt sinister. I remember often seeing shadows move in the corner of my eye, in the main dining room and its adjacent butler's pantry. My brother and I would place bets on who would have the balls to run to the end of the corridor and back, or indeed enter one of the rooms, which were painted in a hideous blue. The children refused to go upstairs alone. I think now, as a grown man, I would still be reluctant to. I will never forget how shocked I was to learn that my brother was bathing alone upstairs after distinctively intense stick battle in the woods. He is a known author and was inspired to put this online after I stumbled across a draft on his desk that described the corridor. And in his experiences of the house, which obviously is far superior to my description, and strangely similar to it, given that we have not discussed this topic for over 40 years, one always felt as if someone was watching or present. I am sure people are able to relate to this. To this day, I didn't experience that again. Our family nanny, who was essentially our mother at the time, was from the Philippines and always said that she was never alone in the part of the house, and that frequently important possessions of her would be moved from her room to the opposite end of the house. We had one chef from Brazil who wouldn't sleep there at night, and one who stayed with us. The previous occupiers had organized 2 separate visits from the local Catholic church to perform exorcisms on the property, and one of the gardeners had committed suicide by throwing himself into the lake and drowning after attaching stones to himself in 1912. One of the most unsettling things about the house was the silence. You almost hear and feel it. The house is situated in a rural area, but expensive property market, which has a large demand for period manor houses. However, it seems strange that people only seem to rent the place for more than a year or two, and the owners have been renting it because they have had tremendous difficulty in selling. It is still listed online. Say what you will, I am usually very clinical of the paranormal, and I am certainly not spiritual, but that distinct divide will stay with me forever. I believe that most things can be described, though coincidence or such like, but for me that energy will remain unexplained. It's been distinctively challenging to actually explain that property and one's experiences there, but I hope I have done so in a way that can be understood. Best wishes and Happy New Year.